Hi there and welcome to this short course about ChatGPT for legal. My name is Kilian and I'm your instructor for this short course. I work in corporate AI partnerships at a global media, services and education conglomerate. Also there I'm facilitating communities for thousands of users of different AI tools. I've previously worked in the startup ecosystem in 4 countries and I've been using generative AI since 2021. Although I gotta say, back then it was really like without knowing it, one of the very first tools that were basically a ChatGPT wrapper. But anyways, I think you're here today because we're talking about ChatGPT, and ChatGPT was launched on November 30th, 2022. And since then, you've probably played around with it quite a bit. Maybe for simple questions, maybe for recipe suggestions in the kitchen, or maybe for planning a vacation. Mostly probably like in your personal environment. But you're here today because you want to know how to use it professionally and in your specific role to work better and faster with AI. And I'm here to help you with that. I think there are 3 teams when it comes to AI. There's one team that is like the people that are really excited about AI, just want to get it going, work with it, build use cases, etc. Then there's another team that is sort of excited, but also a bit unsure about the future and how they actually could use it in their role. And then there are the ones that are predominantly worried, like people who are really skeptic about how this technology will evolve, how this technology will shape the way we work, etc. And my goal with the session today is to first trigger your inspiration with concrete examples of how you can actually use AI in your specific role in the legal domain. And also, I want to lift you one excitement level up. So if you're in the camp of people that are predominantly worried, I hope you get a bit more excited. If you're a bit more excited but still unsure, I want you to get fully excited if that's possible. And if you're already fully excited, then welcome to this video anyways, and I hope you can get some value out of it. So I've realized there's a problem when we talk about ChatGPT and get ChatGPT into like the hands of people, of professional workforce, because most of them tell me that they know about the value of AI, they sense it, that it is a change, that it is something really powerful, but they are not exactly sure how to use it in their specific role. This is the number one objection that I hear. And I think that people see the value, but what they lack is role-specific examples. And I guess you can relate to this. And today we are going to tackle this. And the good thing is there are actually 2 solutions that are really straightforward and solve this, I would say. The first one is actually a custom GPT that was designed and created by the OpenAI team. So this is a custom GPT that you can use to brainstorm how ChatGPT can help you in your role. So basically what this does, and I will open this here, it's actually asking you about your role, where you work at, etc. And it's actually basically like a conversational partner that tells you how to use AI in your role. So I can, for example, start here and say hello to get started, and then ask me, hello there, what company or type of company do you work for? And they can say something like, hi, I'm Kilian and I work at the legal team at, say, YouTube. And then the custom GPT will ask me follow-up questions. It's thinking now about like, thanks for sharing where you work at, etc. It got a bit of context about YouTube as well. And now ask me a follow-up question such as, to better understand how AI can support your work, could you please provide me more details about your specific role within the legal team? For instance, are you involved in areas like content policy, intellectual property, compliance, or litigation? Additionally, are there particular metrics or performance indicators you're interested in improving through AI integration? I could say something like, I work on the team that negotiates partner contracts. I'm not really sure if that's a thing at YouTube, but let's say it's the case, like data processing agreements. I'm obviously making this up now. I don't work at YouTube, but still, it's I'm doing this demo here to get you an idea of how you could actually use it, right? And this custom GPT you can use without a paid account. So you just need the ChatGPT free account actually to use this. So it's not really something that should be much trouble for you. So there are another, follow-up questions here. It's asking me if there is a specific metric or performance indicator that I'm particularly interested in improving. Share about business key objectives, if there are any AI goals, what's your company AI maturity level, are there any other teams at YouTube or Google Legal that you collaborate with, and so on and so on. And you can see this gets pretty specific. And I could, for example, say now that we have a performance indicator like 1, yes, I would like to be able to close new partnership agreements in a maximum of 6 months. That's like a KPI that I want to, measure. And it says, okay, perfect, improving contact cycle time, etc. within 6 months is a good and clear measurable goal. It's analyzing a table now. It's doing a table now. Because it has identified some ChatGPT specific use cases, meaning they are secure, private, and designed for human-in-the-loop workflows, no fault automation. That's good. And it's coming up with that now. So that's helpful. So let's wait for this a little bit. And as you can see here, right, the description of this custom GPT, this ChatGPT, or this GPT helps you brainstorm ways to use ChatGPT. Start by sharing the company or industry you work in. And it, as you can see here, it's searching the web in the background. And this is possible because it has this web search capability enabled here. So here are 5 use cases now that it basically suggests me. Like contract clause comparison assistant, negotiation draft analyzer, regulatory requirements summarizer, internal stakeholder briefs, contract review, etc. And I could, for example, say I want to dive deeper into number 3, the regulatory requirement summarizer, and it understands it if I just say 3 because, it's basically giving it that index number here. And now it gives me like a more concrete background information on how I could actually build this with ChatGPT, or how ChatGPT could help me build this regulatory summarizer. Okay, so that's something that you can do wherever you work, in whatever role you work in. The ChatGPT use cases for work, custom GPT. That is linked here as well in the in the slides, and I also will make sure to link it in the description. So that's a first idea. A second idea is to use a persona prompt. So a persona prompt is a pretty simple prompt that could say, for example, I am on the legal team at company, fill in the blank. What are 10 ways I can use ChatGPT in my role? Put this into a table and provide detailed prompts for each, grouped by category. So in this case here, I would copy this, go over to ChatGPT, paste this in, and you can see company here is in brackets, so it has to be filled out in from me. And in this case here, I have an example dummy company. It's a fictitious company called Walmart that I'm like currently running a few use case examples with. So it's a global retail giant that combines groceries, household goods, fashion, and more. So I will copy this here and then run this simple prompt. We'll say I work at the legal team at Walmart, and this would be whatever company you work at. And if you work at a company that is quite, popular, ChatGPT, the language model, actually has enough info on your company, like to tell you what would actually be feasible in your role. But if it's a company that is not there's not so much information on it. You can give it a little bit of information, or maybe activate the search so it can gather more info on your actual company by browsing the web. In this case, I will not activate it because this company does not exist. It's a fictitious company. So we can just tell it what the company does. It's a global retail giant. And now it spits out 10 use cases that I could use in my role, right? Working on the legal team at this fictitious company called Walmart. So there are different categories now: contract drafting, compliance risk, corporate governance. Many, many specific and easy to implement use cases. And for example, it gives me here for this draft standard agreements already like the detailed prompt of how I could actually, implement it. So this could also be a very, easy and straightforward way to get from 0 to 1 if you're wondering, okay, I'm this type of person, this is my job role, but I don't actually know how to use ChatGPT in it yet. Just try the simple persona prompt and it will give you 10 concrete examples that you can then elaborate on further. So you might be wondering what other things are possible with ChatGPT. And the first things I showed those were all like one-off prompts, right? So this is something that you would do maybe, you saw here in this table that I was given like one prompt, right? Prepare a risk analysis from Walmart's launch of private label products in Canada, highlight legal risk in product liability, labeling, and consumer protection. This is something, right? It's just happening once, you could say, right? We're probably just launching private label products in Canada once. But every time that you have, say, a repetitive task, it might be a good idea to have a custom GPT. A custom GPT is basically always important when you could think of a use case that you would do over and over again. So for this, I have another example here, again with Walmart. And as you know, it's a global retail giant that combines groceries, household goods, fashion, and more. And the use case example that I brought you here is a custom GPT for store level incident reports, right? So imagine something happens at the store and, I have to keep track of that. So what I would do now here is write a report. And typically, right, this would happen manually, but I built a custom GPT for that. And since it's a repetitive workflow, something that might happen over and over again, might happen every other day, it makes sense here to have actually like a custom GPT for it, right? And not just a one-off prompt. So what's happening here is that you can see this is a store-level incident report custom GPT that guides employees through creating standardized incident reports for accidents or compliance breaches at Walmart stores. And if I go in the setting here, you can see that this has some custom instructions, right? I gave it some context. So what this will do, you help Walmart employees document incidents, etc. I gave it instructions, so follow these steps and confirm with the user after each step. So it's actually making sure that it's on the right track, etc. Asking the user essential incident details, generate a structured incident report, suggest relevant follow-up actions, provide a short summary, and confirm the user's final draft. And then it also has a response format. So I also told it like, this is what I want your response to look like. And also on top of that, I gave it some context knowledge. So in this case, it's a PDF called Walmart Incident Guide. And this PDF, what it does is basically outlining how incident, like this guideline is basically outlining how incidents should be reported, right? And you could think of this as something that you want the ChatGPT or the custom GPT to know beforehand for every action that it's executing. So I could say, for example, draft an accident report for a slip and fall at store location. Got it, you're requesting at store location. And now it asks me follow-up questions, right? So please provide the exact store location, ID and city, date and time, individuals involved, description of the incident, immediate actions taken, any witnesses, initial severity assessment, any evidence is collected. So I could do this real quick. Let's say this was in San Francisco, CA. ID of the store. ID is 997. Date and time. This was April 25 at 9:30 p.m. Individuals involved. Let's say it was Darren from the supply team and the customer Darren Brown from the supply team and the customer Michelle Fisher, whatever. For description of the incident, Michelle reached for a bottle of wine and slipped on the floor that was recently cleaned. Poor Michelle. Number 5, immediate actions taken. Darren came out, or Darren saw it and helped her up. She wasn't hurt. Any witnesses? Darren. 7, initial severity, minor. I would say minor, but it still happened, so we have to report it. We have to collect the incident. Any evidence collected, photos, CCTV clips, statements. Of course, we have the CCTV in store camera. Okay, I'm curious actually what it makes out of this. Okay, so collects the info, and then here's the structured incident report draft based on what you provided. It puts it in a nice format, right? It says what happened, immediate actions taken, recommended follow-up actions. So exactly what you saw in the instructions beforehand, right? In the custom GPT, you can see that it's actually doing this, right? So really, really helpful for any sort of workflows or things that happen in a repetitive nature. Highly recommend using custom GPTs for that. Okay. Apart from custom GPTs, you can use ChatGPT in so many ways, especially if you work in legal. And I brought you a couple of use cases here, and I'm also more than happy to show you how those would work. You can use ChatGPT for drafts. So for example, you could draft a contract clause with ChatGPT. As an example prompt here, I gave it something like, you are a senior legal counsel experienced in drafting commercial agreements. Please redraft this clause, action, paragraph to achieve legal goal, ensure legal clarity, risk mitigation, and standard industry phrasing. Return a finalized clause ready for insertion. And you see, obviously, inside of these brackets, this is the gap that you would have to fill in, right? So in this case, I would copy this, and I actually prepared the fill in the blanks here because I'm not a legal, I'm not a lawyer. So for example, here I would have a clause to redraft, right? Your legal, please redraft this clause. I would paste in the clause. And the goal that I want to achieve is strengthen indemnity language. And I just hit enter, and it should now, the legal counsel give me a more appropriate version of this clause that actually involves this indemnification clause here, right? So it made from something like each party agrees to indemnify the other party for claims resulting from the breach of this agreement. It made this into something like each party, indemnifying party, so the persona here, shall indemnify, defend, and hold harmless the other party, its affiliates, and their respective officers, directors, etc., etc. So it's way more elaborate, looks way more professional, way better, right? So I think this was a good one. Let's see what else do we have here. So for ChatGPT for legal, I also have something like review. So you could say draft a contract clause. Example prompt. I go back here to my little preparation. Your senior legal counsel experience in drafting commercial agreements. Please redraft this clause, section, paragraph to achieve legal goals. So from here, for this example, we actually have key clauses. So please redraft this section. And I will just give it the key clauses. To achieve legal goal. To achieve, I would say, in this case, our internal policy, and paste that in as well. Ensure legal clarity, risk mitigation, and standard industry phrasing. Return a finalized clause ready for insertion. So let's go. Let's see what it does with this. So all it had now as info basically was the selection of these key clauses, and that I wanted to make it suitable for our global procurement policy excerpt, right? So now it actually worked on these sections and made it more relevant to the key clauses, right? So, it worked on the key clauses and made them more relevant to the internal policy. So, for example, we gave it the info here that the internal policy is suppliers must obtain prior written approval before subcontracting critical services. Data retention shall not exceed 12 months post-termination. Breach notifications must occur within 48 hours of discovery. So, for example, these 48 hours, I see them here now in this third key clause, right, about security breach notification. So this is excellent, right? I had a very simple, a key clause that said section 7.2, no requirement for supplier to notify customer of security breaches within 72 hours. But actually, my internal policy said it has to be within 48 hours of discovery. So it easily made this change here. So it's just like the perfect legal assistant that you can have by your side. So let's do another one. Let's do analysis. In this case, we would analyze a policy for legal implications. So in this case, we have the following prompt here that I also prepared a little something for. So in this scenario, we would have a policy and a topic. So the policy is our third-party data sharing policy. So in this case, I would just paste it in here. Have a third party that governs topic. The topic here, I don't think this is important. We could just delete this. It's enough with a policy. Then we are considering a scenario where we would allow marketing vendors to access anonymized customer behavior data for campaign optimization purposes without direct user consent, relying on legitimate interest. Does this comply with the legal policy? Highlight risks, suggest mitigation strategies, and provide a clear decision summary. So let's see. So in this case, it does a full analysis, compliance assessment, and it even gave us a nice table here with policy requirements, scenario details, compliance yes or no, and notes. Risk analysis, where the risk is, privacy law risk, reputational risk, operational risk. So really, really thorough. And I think this is definitely something that would be helpful, right, to consider when we have to analyze a policy like for legal implications. Okay, so those were 3 examples, and I think you get the idea now. There is plenty you can do with ChatGPT in the legal domain. But I brought you a few other use cases as well. I think you got the idea now how it's working. You can do summaries as well, right? You can summarize a contract for stakeholders. I guess there are plenty of scenarios where you get contracts that are quite lengthy sometimes, and ChatGPT is really good at analyzing these contracts. You can even tell it what to focus on, for example, duration, renewal terms, liability limits, indemnity clauses, payment schedule, etc. And tell it like the format, for example, use concise bullet points and an executive-friendly tone. You can use ChatGPT to prepare for legal keynotes as well, right? If you do a keynote for a legal audience, you can tell it something like you are a legal communication expert helping prepare a conference keynote. The topic is, and then you fill in the blank, how AI transforms legal workflows. Create an outline and a full script in the style of a senior legal counsel, format using Markdown that you could, for example, use then in other like presentation tools to actually build out your presentation. You can use it for legal research as well. Like, for example, conduct a research on regulations. Example prompt here, you are a legal researcher. I need to understand the obligations of entity. You put in a company, whatever, something you deal with, a client, whatever, concerning topic, the issue that they're currently facing. Provide an outline including applicable laws, key provisions, penalties, and recent cases. Format as an internal briefing note. So something that you could use really, really well in preparing like for a meeting with your client. You could also use it for legal disputes. For example, you could say, act as a litigation strategist. We are dealing with a dispute involving issue. Outline possible outcomes under jurisdiction, so whatever the jurisdiction is that you work in. And summarize similar precedent cases. Highlight legal reasoning, decisions, and case implications. So really helpful for this type of use case as well. And then finally, you could also use it for citation. So obviously it knows all the different like citation formats, and obviously also those in the legal domain. So you could also use it like check a legal document for citation accuracy and say you are a legal writing assistant trained in citation format. You put in whatever citation format is as relevant here in your legal domain. Review the document for citation accuracy and consistency. In this case, for example, you could upload a PDF and return a corrected version with tracked changes and a summary of revisions. And the output would be the text format, and it would highlight what it actually changed. All right, so as a summary, I think you saw now that you can definitely benefit from AI. I'm actually convinced any role can benefit from AI. And I really hope these examples sparked your inspiration. This is what I wanted to achieve. I hopefully leveled up your excitement with AI. And I also would like to encourage you and invite you to check out the description. I will keep that updated with like further resources that are important and helpful for your role. So check this out, and thank you for giving me your time here, and have fun using AI in your role.